Certification plus a process provides an infrastructure for you to conduct resources and training. All of this equals results, demonstrated commitment. There are three things that corporate owners, government clients expect from diverse suppliers: honesty and integrity, that you meet expectations, and that the supplier's success reflects positively on the organization. And the three things that we expect from corporate and government customers, you'll note we're on the same page on number one. Honesty and integrity. In other words, don't waste our time. Competitive access. We're not asking, as small women minority suppliers, we're not asking for a freebie. What we're asking for is access to the opportunities that our revenues helped to generate. Let me say that again. The basis upon which all of my colleagues seated at the podium are here is to let you know that they have a public responsibility to you because you are a taxpayer or you are a customer. And that responsibility means to outline why we have this thing called certification. The third thing we expect is payment for performance. There is only one solution: ensure integrity and accountability in the process of supplier diversity. The operative words, ladies and gentlemen: integrity and accountability. Therein lies the reason for certification. So before we get into this, before I introduce my panelists, let me define certification. I want everybody to be on the same page. Certification is the verification and confirmation of ownership classification. Now, that ownership classification may include SDBs, DBEs, minority-owned firms, women-owned firms, veteran-owned firms, and disabled veteran-owned firms. We want to be sure that, well, here's the question I would have. Mr. Speaker, why? If I come to this session and you're telling me that this is a tool that's going to help me in my business, what the heck is certification doing? Let me clarify. Certification is not a qualification. Let me say that again. Certification is not a qualification. Certification simply allows you to compete for opportunities, and it confirms that you have been classified in as a small women minority-owned firm. Now, why do they do it? Here's why we verify, and here's why we confirm: because there are unscrupulous companies trying to play the system. Let me say it again. Unscrupulous companies. People are naming their daughters and their wives and their grandmothers president of the company and coming into the corporations that I represent. I do business with more than half of the Fortune 100. They cannot afford to make a public statement about using women and minority suppliers that's not verified. You follow me? Having said that, we've gathered some panelists that are going to share their insights on this subject. We have with us today Ken Compton, the manager of supplier diversity for Georgia Power. We have Kimberly King, the director, Equal Opportunity Office, Georgia Department of Transportation, and Shalandra Connick, who is the EEO DBE analyst at MARTA. Would you please give them a round of applause?
I'm smiling because DBE certification is something that we enjoy here at MARTA. I'm smiling because you have made steps to move your business forward and you want a key to success. Certification here at MARTA, GDOT, the Unified Certification Program, is very important to those agencies that receive federal funding from FTA. If you are interested in doing business with the airport, the Port Authority, Department of Transportation, the Highway Authority, or MARTA, DBE certification is something you should seriously consider. Here at MARTA, one name that you want to remember is Ferdinand L. Risco Jr. He is our executive director, and we have a new charge in our office. We're trying to move forward even more during this time. We have a focus on compliance, education, and outreach. And we are so delighted that the Atlanta Tribune has come here today to help us expand our platform. So yes, DB certification is very important if you want to do business with those agencies that do receive federal funding from FTA.
Business. Do you make all the negotiation decisions? Are you in the field? Or are you in the office doing the bookkeeping? Because very often that's what we find, that the female in the business is doing the bookkeeping and the non-socially or economically disadvantaged male is the one negotiating the contracts. He may have another business that is very similarly situated to this one. He has been in business for quite a long time. He has the requisite licensing. He has the requisite education. And so if we did not, as Mr. Williams indicated, confirm and verify that in fact you are who you say you are, we would be allowing those folks into the program. So that front-end verification and confirmation is very important for us. So there's ownership considerations, there are control considerations, there's a personal net worth consideration. If you are, if your personal net worth is in excess of $1.32 million, you are neither socially nor economically disadvantaged from our perspective, and therefore you're probably not going to be eligible for the program. That's another consideration for us. The other thing we look at is the size of your company. There is a gross receipts consideration that we do for 3 years worth of your company's business. And finally, that group membership, whether or not you are presumptively disadvantaged based on your membership in a protected class, race, gender, etc. We look for all of those things before you're able to do business with the state of Georgia. Again, because it's important that the opportunities that are being made available to DBEs are only being made available to legitimately identified disadvantaged business enterprises. So it's very important that on the front end, we're doing what we need to do to make sure that you are who you say you are, and then make sure that you're holding us accountable, again, as Mr. Williams said, for making the opportunities available to you once you have jumped through the hoops. So I'm hoping that we get the opportunity to talk a little more later about what that certification does for you. Mr. Williams mentioned leveraging that certification, so I hope we have the opportunity to have some conversation about that. Thank you.
Ken?
First of all, I want to embarrass three of my colleagues here. Deb and Nikki and Barbette, would you raise your hands? I'm an administrator. These are the ladies that do the real work in our office, first off. But I want to just talk about certification for a moment. This is a typical phone call we get sometimes. Hi, I'm a lawyer and I represent Mr. Famous Person. And Mr. Famous Person has bought into our business and Mr. Famous wants to do work for your company. And Mr. Famous is a minority. Well, does Mr. Famous own 51% of the business, and does he work at the company? Is he there every day? Well, no, but you know, he's famous, and it would really help your business if you brought him on board because he's a minority. Well, how much of the business does he own? Well, we're not sure. That's not certification. That's what we have to deal with and what we have to weed out every day. We get people who will try to wedge in and pick somebody, a famous name, or just a face as representing their company, and they really do not. And we have to make sure that we weed that out. Vicki and Barbette they know this better than anybody else. For the last 18 months to 2 years, they have been going through every single certification that Georgia Power and Southern Company has, and getting them renewed to make sure the people that we have doing business with already are still, who they say they are. Has their company been bought out? Because a lot of times that will happen, and we don't know. So every 2-3 years, we go back through this. These ladies have gone through 6,000 suppliers that we have used in the last 3 years. And it's not a fun job, but it's a very important job that when we bring someone in, it's a minority, a veteran, woman-owned business, that they are at the business, they're doing the work, they're running the business, and they do own 51%, at least 51%, and they're involved every day.